Good morning, good evening.
Susan, it is working. And I've actually managed to do it straight online.
I had to get my cell
Reading
phone.
group, so we are really good.
Good. I had to go to my cell phone, so I've got that one up too. How are you today?
So main thing, it's working, isn't it? If it's on the laptop or smartphone,
Yes.
doesn't matter. It's good that it's working. I like your beat.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I love the artwork behind you. Your wings and your tree and your flowers. How beautiful.
Oh, thank you for noticing. It's an art piece with some chalk, which I did based on my logo on my website. People can see it as well, erikaamazing.me. It's meant to be like the world tree, but inside the flower of life together. So
that's wonderful.
And today my son is at his dad, so I thought I'm going to use this opportunity to use this place to talk with you.
Yes. I remember when my son was that age, it was hard to do things without they constantly want attention to. So
that's true.
The best of two worlds, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm really excited.
In between juggling, don't we? Yeah. It's between worlds.
Yes.
I mean, It's the best practice to juggle between worlds and to to weave between worlds.
Yes. So we have some really exciting things for our watchers today. We're going to be talking about the rune Feho and manifesting. And you've got your 7 generations labyrinth to show.
Yes.
And how people can use that. So do you want to jump right in?
Yeah.
Shall we jump right in?
Sure. Maybe since you do this great weekly rune readings, maybe for the viewers who don't know much about runes, maybe you can tell us what is the rune Feho, which has come up for us to share today. What does it mean? How does it express itself?
Sure. This is what it looks like. This is Feho. I know it takes a little time to reach around the world, but this is the rune I carved into a crystal that I enjoy. And what Feho means is abundance of all kinds. In fact, some of the writers on the runes talk about Feho including the entire rune cycle within it, which I believe is true. And as we manifest from spirit into matter, we remember to call forth spirit's abundance. You know, spirit is always wanting us to have everything that we need for our lives. And when we come into life and we forget that wonderful connection that we had to spirit, we lose touch with how readily accessible things can be. So Feho is a rune of manifestation and calling forth abundance and having faith too. You know, we can get lost. I have gotten lost in times of not having enough or not having enough money coming in or wondering how I'm going to pay the bills next week. And it's easy to become overcome with fear and anxiety and worry and think, oh my God, what am I going to do? But I have learned to set these emotions aside. You know, it's important to acknowledge them, but also realizing the many times in life when I have been afraid and something's come through for me. And Feho is all about that. You know, it's about having enough and enjoying enough. And when we feel a lack, we can call on Feho. We can use Galder if we want. In the Norse trilogy, the well, the powers of 3, 6, and 9 are prevalent. So when I'm going to sing Galder for Feho, and I'll show you in a minute, I like to do it in sequences of 3, 6, and 9. So when I really need it, I'll ground myself. I'll send my energy through my feet and my root chakra into the earth. And then I'll call that up, and I'll call the energy of heaven down. And this is all a meditation. We can do it one time or another. We do a tree meditation, but anyway, we just wanted to keep it simple for today. So Feho will call in the energies that we need for our life. So Galder-wise, Feho, 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 Feho.
Well, thank you.
And you may
For
find
people who don't know what Galder is what Susan just did. This is the chanting of the runes. And so thank you for jumping right in, connecting us with this energies of Feho. And we will invite all of you to just join us at the end of our conversation.
Yep.
As you've seen, it's
We'll do it again. Yes. And it's very powerful. But Erica has a treat even better for you.
Well, I don't know what's better or worse. I always see things like just as a form of expression, and that's why I love the runes, or I like working with the Biriginis, the goddess energies. If we find ways to connect with them, like with the Biriginis, for example, I do every morning, they are called shaping wings. There are movements, certain movements to connect with a certain goddess energy, or that's why I like to embroider them. For me, I'm fascinated by finding ways to really manifest or really connect with those energies, which are otherwise stay not tangible, or the real magic happens if I do the movements, or if I chant the runes like you just did, or I do artwork, then I feel this energy in this moment is expressing itself through me. So it's called also intentional creativity. It's very, very powerful. And I like to invite anybody. It's very human to get lost in worry. And this week, it's for me very, very present, the scarcity. I found out from my landlord that he wants to increase the rent for €100, and I'm already unemployed since April. So this was put on me this feeling you described earlier as well, oh my God, how am I going to supposed to pay the bills, and the scarcity mindset. And I think this is very human, and especially in these times of coronavirus, this happens to so many people, so many creatives or single entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs are in very similar situation. So it's very normal to feel that. And for me, what helps is to really find an expression for that, where I get out from this fear mode, on overwhelm mode, and start being creative, either through movement or through artwork, this labyrinth. Since we talked today about Feho, this is a coincidence that in the first week of my Wyrding Way soul journey, online soul journey, we did an exercise. It's called the 7 Seeds Labyrinth. It's a very old tradition. People say maybe 6,000 or 7,000 years old. It exists across all different cultures around the world. And there are no coincidences, but I put the Feho rune inside. And it just came to me when I was doing this labyrinth. What was expressing to me is weaving abundance to the 7 generations which came before us and who come after us. And the labyrinth is very powerful if we imagine ourselves to be birthed from the center, like in the abundance where everything is possible. And then we can go to the labyrinth outside, all the 7 generations, and also inside. And just now it came to me how powerful that would be to also chant, for example, Feho, whilst doing these exercises again and again. And I love, here I've got also everywhere Feho, and this is like a symbol, because I also collect symbols from around the world. And this one I've learned from a Slavic Russian embroidery teacher. It stands for wealth. And the golden thread, I've embroidered it. It's, at the moment, it's expressing through me to a creative way to get through the scarcity which all our generations before have known, and we now are also in the midst of experiencing. It's a nice way, I think, to work with it creatively and transform it at the same time. Because through this intention and through this abundant energies of the rune, when we do it, we really transform reality. And how are your experiences with that?
Right. My experiences with lack, I've had my times in my life. When I was newly divorced with a 3-year-old child, and I had just bought a house, and at that time I lost my job. So I know, I think very close to what you're going through. And, you know, fortunately my dad was the one who loaned me the money for the house so I could get through, and he was good about that. But I knew every day I was worried, you know, where's the money going to come from to pay the bills? Where's the money going to come from to live? But somehow we got through it. I had given some of my things that I owned to a commission shop, and they knew, 3 women who owned it knew what I was going through, and they gave me the money for it without charging me any commission, you know. So grace comes into it. Grace comes into it, and faith comes into it. And all of this was before the years when I got into the runes. So it's just wonderful how our life informs us. You know, we will get through. You know, I think as much as anything else, it's the coping tools that we develop. And I love the creative way to transform those emotions into a courageous way to move forward. Because it's really sticky business, isn't it? You can get really stuck in those lower emotions of fear and everything else. And that's why, you know, Erica and I, both of us, we work with the Norns, and we work with the sacred tree, Yggdrasil, the Norse tree of life and worlds, and we get to the root of something. So it's really identifying what you're feeling. If you're feeling uneasy, you know, take a little time to go inside yourself and identify what you're feeling. And like Erica's saying, she's fearful in relation to this experience of her landlord asking for more money because things are tough. She's unemployed, and I've been there. And things turned around, you know, people help you. And it's not always directly looked for, but help comes in. And now that we have the tools of the runes and the Berigini symbols, we have ways to create things to help us get through. I find when I pick up a needle and thread, and I'm currently working on a version of Yggdrasil myself. It's just very, very minimal, but you see the roots and you see Midgard with Jormungandr around it. And I turned Svartalfheim into a womb, Erica. I had to pull it out and redo it. I turned it into a womb because that is really, you know, that's a big source of our creativity as women, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, whether we're giving birth to a child, giving birth to a business, or giving birth to, you know, trying to find ways to create, to help people come to a new understanding for creating a better world, you know, a
Mm.
better life on Earth than we have had. So it all relates. And I just, real quick, I picked up Michael Denny's book,
Oh,
because he
yes.
talks about, you know, when you get
I
into
love it. Yeah.
reversals,
Mm.
okay? When you get into reversals and when you get Feho upside down, he says the best thing you can do, he has this little medicine wheel that he has on the cover. And when you get something upside down, go to its opposite. We don't have time here to explain the whole thing. But so I've gotten Feho upside down, and I want to chant Raidho, which is right action, which will bring us back into balance with our life, right?
Yes.
So it's not only Feho today that we can chant, but it's also Raidho. So just real quick, 1 second. I'm drawing the rune because I don't have it pulled. But this is Raidho for those who don't know the runes as well. And it's so, you know, so it's the journey of abundance. You know, the journey of abundance, the journey of life is going to have ups and downs, but we can chant Raidho as well. Shall I do that one too, Erica?
Yes. Like as a preparation for
Okay.
the viewers to join us at the end, where we can do it all together.
Okay, so I'll use the same tune, but I'll just jump into it. Raidho, 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 Raidho,
Great, that was very powerful. It's like it felt like first time the Feho was to warm up, and now it's getting really out. I look forward when we do it the third time by the magical number 3 at the end, and then everybody can join in. And great.
And at the end we can do both rooms. So we can call and then we can empower. Maybe that's what it does, you know, taking the opposing runes, we can both call and empower, which feels good to me, always to empower.
Yes, and that's how the self-empowerment is also so good, that we know those tools, that we can practice with them. This is for me creativity in action.
Yes.
It's really, really good. I like that.
And I just wanted to share a little bit too. I know I've talked about my garden, and I've been in the garden chanting Feho for the plants to grow. So for those who are watching this, I'll put some pictures on Facebook to show you how the garden is coming. So I won't waste a lot of time here, but just because I want you to know this stuff works.
Yeah, it sure works. And you even come up with your own wording for unearthing. If you're doing shadow work in connection with the gardening, you call it unearthing.
Yes. I think it's so important. You know, it's just finding words for things. I mean, you know, I'm working on my other book right now on the Tree of Life. And part of that process, you also talk about in your book, you know, going in and unearthing the emotions that cause our shadows, you know, those old feelings that keep us caught in the negative self-talk. So to turn that around, you know, like we say, and me for finding the words for it and explaining the process of how the limbic system works as opposed to the cerebral cortex, our mind, you know, how we're wired for survival emotions, you know, our survival emotions, flight, free, anger, jealousy, rage, all of those things that keep us alive, but don't keep us in our peace of mind, you know. So we learn to change our talk, you know, and we learn to do We learned to make Barrage symbols from getting Erica's book and duplicating hers. But I love everything. You know, it's just all coming together. This is coming together. So it's finding words to communicate and words to bridge the different sides of ourselves. And you follow Michael Mead, who tells stories, right? And you yourself narrate stories, translating them from the German in some of your videos that you've made. And it's so enlightening to have the ancestry, the stories of our ancestors coming down to us and being shared, and how we can take similar things and find encouragement for moving forward. Like that old woman with the weaving a couple of weeks ago, right? That was the great story.
This old from Appalachia, from North America, original like story. Like it's also on my YouTube channel. Somebody wants to listen to it. It's a very old story of a woman who's weaving the tapestry of life, and she's so endorsed with it. And then this dog comes, and while she has to go to turn the pot, the food in the pot around, the dog comes and he tears apart the whole tapestry, and she stays really calm, and she just returns. She sits back down and she starts to weave it again. And I knew, like, and it's, I think, such an empowering story, so simple, and we don't even know how old this story is. And I think it's such a beautiful metaphor how we can deal with any hardships in life. We can totally get lost in fear and anger and whatever, or we can do it like this old wise woman does. Just sit down, pick up the thread and start anew, and maybe it's even going to become even more beautiful. It's up to us how we...
Picking up the thread, picking up the paintbrush, or picking up the pen to write down your stories, you know, and even writing down our own stories is so empowering.
Yes.
You can take your story and turn it from resentment that someone treated me wrong, and then using the work of Byron Katie, for example, is this true? And you just, how do I feel if it's true? If it's not true, how does it make me feel? And then you gradually, like I'm working in the book to have people just write their stories down and then rewrite them as their understanding grows, so that it changes from a process of blame to a process of being accountable for owning how I feel, to the story as impartially as possible is something that it taught me. So my life experience teaches me. Your life experience teaches you. And if we hang on to resentment, we don't grow. But if we look at something and own it, we can grow from it. It's a very powerful seed.
Absolutely. Which has also been an exercise actually in the 4th week, like also in the Facebook group here and the Co-Creative Destiny Weaving. It's like the first day, it's about facing and overcoming adversity. And in the 6th week Wyrding Rune Soul Journey, we are also in week 4 and doing lots of exercises of shadow work and the work, the Byron Katie's 4 questions, which you just mentioned, are the work, and so simple and very, very powerful. If we just give ourselves space to sit down and to really rewrite, and it's an ongoing exercise to practice the rewriting, or like going from the mind into the heart and opening up, and
Exactly.
so many different exercises.
Exactly.
And I think this is all part of creativity.
And so powerful.
Whether you do the questions, whether you do the arts, there are different exercises, do the gardening, and I think, whatever people find to get from the mind more into the heart or in the womb, and rewrite it, refeeling, like embracing it.
Yeah. And each time we do that, each time we're willing to go to our own roots, we become more clear. We're able to carry more light, so that when we break through from the soil, like the seed breaks out into the sunlight, we can grow tall and strong in our creating, in our working, in our life, in our living, in being moms, in being dads. You know, it's all such a beautiful story, and we all have something in common. You know, we all have something in common.
Yes, that's true. We all have something in common. And everybody goes through the cycle of different experiences. And certainly through these difficult nights of the soul, dark nights of the soul, how they're called. And
Yes.
shadows. So we are in this together.
And we're going through it on a planetary scale now. So this is something the earth needs from human beings. Otherwise, this would not have happened. You know, this is something the earth needs from human beings. And we take our sustenance from earth. What do we give back? Do we give back our prayers, or do we give back our complaining?
It feels to me like also, do we shine our light, like our full potential?
Yeah.
Or are we just going to stay inside? It's another story I've been telling not long time ago, but that every human being is like a flower. We all carry this, all the unique potential inside of us, planted. But then there comes a time where the flower needs to decide, am I going to leave the soul and brave these new challenges which come when you stretch yourself from Mother Earth? And in this story, the flower took a long time. She almost like stayed inside the soul, and but then very late, already in autumn, she decided to bloom. But regardless, the main thing is that she was blooming, and she made this decision to leave the soul. And I think this is another beautiful story and analogy for all of us. We have to say yes to our growth, to our full shining of our potential, what we came for. It's already a miracle that we are alive and we're breathing, or we are being breathed by the divine, and just offered us to the world. But I know that sometimes it's difficult, and we have to sometimes make this conscious choice. Still, regardless how difficult it is at the moment, I still decide to continue to grow. Grow regardless.
Yes. And sometimes our best growth comes from times of now-these. You know, sometimes our most difficult things to overcome, we find how strong we really are. We find how much we really can endure when things are really hard. So we just take the courage and we chant. We do Galder. We do what we have to do. We stitch the embroidery symbols. We walk in the garden. We hike to a tree. Whatever we do, let it be positive food for our becoming. You know, the stuff that happens to us can just be, excuse my language, you know, the stuff that happens to us can become fertilizer for something even better to emerge.
Yes.
You know, I've been making my own compost for the garden. Every year, all of our table scraps, except for the meat, because we have bears here, go into that compost pile. All of the lawn clipping, all of the weeds I pull, go into that compost pile. I don't use any commercial fertilizer. I don't use any pesticides. I do it all by hand, because then I am one with the earth. I am one with my work, and it's very satisfying to see what emerges, not only from the beauty of the plants, but even from the dead plants that become fertilizer for next year's crop. There's just a beauty in the breaking down. You know, as I get older, I'm 61 years old, and I don't feel like an old lady. I feel even younger at heart than I did when I was young. But the fun thing is, the breaking down, looking at my life and breaking down, you know, those shadows. We talk about that, you know, it's become fertilizer for joy.
Mm. You're such a great living example. I'm so glad you're here, Susan, and that you can share your wisdom.
Oh, we
Fantastic example for all of us. And also reminds me of Barbara Max Hubbard. She always used to say she died with 89 last year, 89 years old. And I had
God bless her.
I had the joy and the pleasure to speak with her even live 1 week before she died. And she still said she gets newer every day. She does not get older. She doesn't get younger, but she gets newer, because the more we are connected with our joy, and
I like that.
And that's how we get newer from the ever moment. When we feel like aligned with our soul purpose, it makes us new.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
And my spirit is always new. You know, the more present we can be, the more conscious we are, and the more connection we have to source, to spirit, to the creator, the creatress. You know, I don't know, by whatever name we personally have for the higher power, but it's just, we're connected. It's through the heart. You know, when I do the Rune de Gaz, when I do the physical symbol for it, I cross my arms over my shoulders and I carry that. I don't know if people can see me from here, my little phone, but I just cross my hands over here. And what other symbol holds that but Manaz? Exactly, Erica. Exactly. De Gaz and Manaz, they both carry that cross that is shaped Gebo.
And Gebo, genau, gifts.
You know, it's in both of those symbols. Both of those symbols. So we get it. De Gaz is daytime, which is includes the nighttime. And Manaz is humanity. The joy we take in each other is the Wunyo symbol mirrored. And Gebo is the gift of all, right?
That's right.
The gift of the energy we have for life. But they all fit. They all fit within Feho, which is the start of the rune cycle. So we'll have that to do. It's almost time, isn't it? We're having such a good time today.
Yeah, time flies always when I speak with you. And I like this embodiment, like, of this wisdom. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It fills me with so much joy, and you're like living it. It's like, makes me very happy to see that.
Yeah. So
maybe we can.
Do
you have some last? Sorry. Sorry.
Oh, maybe we can influence people to find their joy too.
Yes. Share the sparkles, and may it lands on fruitful soul.
Yeah.
Sparkles and seeds.
Yeah. Yeah. So what 3 words shall we pick today?
Yes. Well, one word is definitely creativity, like intentional creativity. I like to put in our wizardy pot to go and do its magic.
Yes. Yes, intentional creativity. And why don't we just add one word to that? Faith. Because you know that when you plant the seed and you water it and the sun shines, usually it grows.
Yes, if the plant says yes to the growth, it usually grows. And grace, I love the word grace. You mentioned that earlier. It's one of my words of the year as well, grace. I like to add that as well into the well of wisdom.
So we have intentional creativity, faith, and grace. And these are all things that our soul embodies. You know, I think we all come into earth knowing this innately. If we have experience of it, we can nurture these qualities in ourselves. So
beautiful. Beautiful.
So I think, yes. So do we want to do the Galder song 9 times each again in 3 rounds of 3?
Yes, I would love to do that. For
Okay.
the ends, so we can go with the wisdom of all these beautiful words and the sharings and the Galder now. Just come and join us, all of you
Yes.
who are watching.
Okay, so take a minute to center yourself and find your core and breathe deeply and call your energy back to yourself and your intention back to yourself to allow the experience that we're singing of in these runes. First, we'll sing Feho to bring abundance, and then we'll sing Raidho to empower the life journey. Feho, 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 Raidho, 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 Raidho.
Thank you. Thank you to the runes and
Thank you.
to all the wisdom which has been weaving
Yes.
to us. Thank you.
And going from us into the world. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you, Susan. Lagadaru. Many blessings.
Lagadaru. Many blessings to you too, hon.
Have a wonderful week. Until we meet again.
You too. Room blessings ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.